successful television executive, adrenaline junkie, even self-confirmed bachelorette. These were some of the things that would describe my next guest, right up until a brain aneurysm changed all of that. Now she defines success differently and has different goals. She also helps women have an abundant second half. Welcome to Beyond the Lens and my interview with Michelle Newman. Hi, Michelle. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. And I love what you're doing. I'm so excited about this podcast. I think it's necessary and fun. Well, it's insightful. So thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Well, thank you. So tell us what life used to look like for you.
Well, I was in Los Angeles. I graduated from Loyola Marymount University with a communication arts degree, and my first job out of school was with Entertainment Tonight. So I was one of those people who actually used their degree for their work, which was exciting to be able to do that. So I worked in the entertainment industry and went from Entertainment Tonight to Telepictures to Extra to Fox, working my way up through different departments and stuff. And I was single for a very long time. I got into athletics. I did an Ironman, New Zealand Ironman. I did crazy adventure races where you would have, whatever you needed on your backpack, and you'd have your two girlfriends with you, and the three of you would do mountain bikes, kayaking, traversing down mountains.
So were you a little bit of an adrenaline junkie?
A little bit, yeah. So I was very active. I was studying to become a yoga instructor. So I had a very fulfilled life, but I was single. I wasn't married. I was on the fast track with my career. I had just been appointed director of on-air promotion at CBS Daytime. So I had just gotten that job, and it was a great job. I wanted to get into management. I studied a lot about management, and that was exciting and fun and not easy, because I inherited my group, but we all learned. We were going through some growing pains, but things were working out. And I was sort of on that single woman, determined, having these adrenaline junkie events, and just working on my career and seeing how far I could go, climb up the ladder.
So what did success and your goals look like to you at that point?
Yeah, at that point, it was like, honestly, it was like, okay, how far could I take my career? Like what steps did I need to take to, become more at my career, more money, more responsibilities. And again, I was like an adrenaline junkie. I was mountain bike riding and kayaking and doing triathlons. And I have to admit, it was a lot about me. I mean, I still, I had really great friends, and I was very close. I've always been extremely close to my parents. They've been a big part of my life always, and I was taking care of them whenever I could, and, taking care of my nieces and nephews. But I pretty much thought that I was going to be single for the rest of my life, and I was okay with that. And I was like, I better be really good to my nieces and nephews, because when I get old, they're probably going to be making some decisions for me. But it was okay. I felt like I was on the fast track. I was in Los Angeles. It was great. I mean, I was loving everything I was doing. And the entertainment industry it's La La Land, It's fun, it's exciting, So I was just working as hard as I could and training as hard as I could, but it was a fairly shallow life.
So then what changed all of that?
Well, then somehow I think God intervened, and this is kind of funny, but it's not funny. But I had a brain hemorrhage while I was watching The Apprentice. I was on my couch, and all of a sudden, I had just this like severe pain in the back of my head. It was almost as if like a gunshot went off in the back of my head. And it was like pow, and just this whole pain radiated in the back of my head. And I couldn't really move, and my vision was bad, and I threw up actually
Wow.
from the pain. And I didn't know what to do because I was single and I was home alone in my apartment, and there was no one there, which is really kind of scary, because I do have to admit, one of the things that that when I was single I was worried about is like, what if something happens to me and no one finds me? I'm
Mm.
home all alone, and will someone come looking for me or not? So that was a little bit scary. So again, I was having a difficult time. And so I called a girlfriend, and she's like, oh, just take an Ambien. You probably have a migraine, and go to bed, which probably was the worst thing I could have done,
Yeah.
because that's a blood thinner. So I took it, and I couldn't lay down. So I had all these pillows propped by me. And by the grace of God, I woke up in the morning. I woke up the
Wow.
next morning, and I called my mom. I called my mom about 6 o'clock in the morning, because by that time I really couldn't move. I just was in so much pain, and I knew I had to get to a doctor. So I was pretty independent, but I called her and I was like, Mom, I need to get to a doctor. And she didn't even ask me anything. And I think it's because I was asking for help. She knew it was serious. So it was a really rainy, torrential day in Los Angeles. And if anybody knows about rain in Los Angeles, it doesn't have to be raining very hard and traffic is horrible. I mean, it's just like, we don't know how to drive in rain in Los Angeles. So it took her about an hour and a half to get to me. And by then, I mean, I was having a really hard time moving around, and she was helping me get dressed. And I was pretty much just in my pajamas, and we just put a coat on and got in the car. Well, I won't get into a lot of detail, but our healthcare back then was not great. I mean, I went to 3 different hospitals. It was awful. Like, it was awful. So by about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, my mom called her doctor, and he's like, can you drive her? And she's like, yes, I can drive her. He's like, okay, get her from Beverly Hills all the way into the valley, which is a long drive. He goes, but they'll be waiting for you in the ER. They'll be waiting for you there. As soon as you get there, they'll know what to do. And so my mom's like, okay, Michelle, let's go, which was great, because the blood was now, and my brain was getting, growing in my skull. I was losing feelings in my leg.
Wow.
So I couldn't really feel my legs very much. So we got in the car. We were able to, through the rain, get over to Holy Cross Hospital. They got me in there, and I finally got some morphine. So that was great. I finally was like pain free, which was nice. And then they took a CAT scan, and thank God the doctor had also asked for a spinal tap, because the CAT scan was like, oh, there's nothing here. Well, they did the spinal tap, and it was full of blood.
Wow.
So it was leaking into my spine. So I'll never forget this. When they decided to check me into the ICU, I'll never forget this. When they wheeled me into the ICU, there was this nurse, and I called her Snow White. I'm going to get a little teary. She was beautiful. She had this beautiful black hair and just gorgeous pale skin. And she had the best red lipstick I've ever seen. I mean, it's this bright red, gorgeous lipstick. And they counted down. They do it just like they do in the movies. 3, 2, 1, lift. And they lifted me from the gurney into an ICU bed. And at that point, I was like, wow, okay, this is it. I'm going to die. This is it. And, sorry. And, I've never felt so peaceful in my life. I mean, and to this day, I've never felt that peaceful. It was, gosh, I'm sorry. I didn't think I would cry. It was 15 years ago. Like, what's going on? Um, but I think what was so great about it was I was happy and I was okay. I was okay. Like, I felt I had lived 36 awesome years. I had done so much with my life. I had, I loved my family. I was really close to my Nana, and she had died a few years earlier unexpectedly. So I thought, oh, I'm going to be reunited with her, and I'm okay. I'm okay. And it's funny because I tell friends, like, the small things in life, getting cut off by a car in traffic, people talking behind your back, people stabbing you in the back to try and, promote themselves. I didn't think of any of that.
Mm.
It didn't even occur to me. It didn't even come into my brain. When I thought I was going to die, when I was being lifted into the ICU bed, looking at Snow White, I just felt love and joy and peace and peace. And like, I was okay. I'd never been married. I didn't have any kids, which were both dreams of mine forever. But I was okay. I was like, this was the life I was supposed to have, and it's okay. And then, a couple days later, they're like, nope, you're fine. Your brain's okay. We've patched you up, go home. And I'm like, okay. So that's what happened.
And
Sorry
isn't it,
about that. I didn't mean to get so emotional.
that's okay. Isn't it amazing too how things become so insignificant that we thought may have been big deals? Like you said, somebody cut you off on the freeway and you're upset for hours over something so minor.
Right.
And these are just little blips on the screen, and we don't need to be consumed by them.
You know that book, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff? Well, that is so true. It's so right to not, that it's small. It's small. I mean, when you're really thinking about life and death, like if you're going to be here or you're not going to be here. And it's interesting because I feel almost like it's a gift. Like I was given a gift to see that, to feel it, to really feel it and know it. And the other thing that was really funny is when I would see people again, whether how small or big importance in my life, I was so grateful to see them again.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like I was seeing them, because I genuinely didn't think I would see them again ever, ever. So it was almost like I had a second chance, and I was like, it's so great to see you, and people felt the same way about me too. And it was actually, strangely, it was such a magical time in my life,
So, had you had any symptoms that would have indicated that there was anything wrong?
I did not. And most women don't. Most women who have aneurysms, it occurs a lot in women who are in their late 30s. That does, and there are no signs, there are no symptoms. And I am very fortunate that my subarachnoid hemorrhage, only 2% of people survive what happened to me.
Wow.
So if you're going to win a lottery, I think that was a good lottery for me to win, to think that 98% of people usually die. I have a brother who, he's retired now, but he was a firefighter. I have a whole family of firefighters in my family. And he came in and he's like, Michelle, I responded to a woman very close to your age who had a brain aneurysm running on a treadmill. And he's like, you could be dead right now. He
Wow.
kind of didn't mince words. And I was like, you're right. I'm there's still more for me to do here. God's like, you're not ready.
So then, how did this event change your life?
Well, I have to say it was like a 180. I mean, again, I was single, and it's funny because I met my husband a month later. I was celebrating with some friends at a bar, and he was there, and he asked if he could, use the stool that was there. And I said, yeah. And then we started talking, and we hit it off. And I joke, but I was like, I think before my accident, I don't think I would have given him a second look, honestly. I mean, I just don't think I would have. And I just, we started talking, and our values were the same. We were kind of raised the same. I mean, although he's a crazy Brit, he's an American, he has dual citizenship, but he was like, of course he had the accent. So that was, very enticing. But, it was interesting because, I honestly don't think I would have dated him before. My priorities changed. I was like, my list was, they need to make me laugh, and, they need to be athletic. And, it just shifted things.
Mm-hmm.
It was important to me. My faith wasn't great at that time. My mom was trying to get me to go to church, and I just didn't go to church. I was sort of like, my faith wasn't great. And here I am, I meet this man, and he has great faith. And he was Catholic. Growing up in England, I'm like, who's Catholic in England? Like, this is crazy. But he was great. And I'll never forget when one of the things when we got engaged was, he's like, okay, we're going to mass every Sunday. And I was like, every Sunday? And he's like, every Sunday. We need to be grateful and thank the Lord. And I was like, well, how about on vacations? And he's like, even on vacation. So I've been to some very interesting churches. I've not understand a word of what they've said, but it's been fun. So yeah, no, I mean, that was huge. And it was interesting that a month later, almost to the day, I met him.
Wow. And it's interesting that you say that you wouldn't have necessarily given him the time of day before that because you had a certain checklist. And I remember reading something that says to the effect that women want Superman, but they walk by Clark Kent every day.
Yes, that's it. That is absolutely it. I couldn't agree with that quote more. It was very accurate for me, and it's funny because I was older. I was 36. And so one of the things I had said to myself, because I was so grateful to be alive, I said, I want to thank God, and I want to be in the Sistine Chapel on my 37th birthday, which was in September. So my birthday's in September. So this was March. And so we talked a little bit, and then it got a little serious too fast, I think. So we kind of took a little bit of a break, but then it was just inevitable. We were meant to be together. So we started dating again, and I was like, look, I'm going to be in Italy in the Sistine Chapel on my birthday. Like I made that pledge to God. I wanted to be there. I don't know why. To me, that was the holiest place I could think of. So he's like, okay, let's go together.
So then what has your life looked like since
This? Okay, so it's gone through a lot of different transitions. Oh, and I forgot to tell you. So on my birthday that year, I was in the Sistine Chapel, and he proposed to me. So that was a nice little thing to happen. So immediately after the accident, for about the first 6 months, I absolutely walked around grateful every day, didn't sweat the small stuff. And I wish I could have bottled that, because life gets in the way.
Yeah.
Life just presents itself, and the simple things, you kind of forget about that. We ended up getting married. We had a hard time having kids, so that was the focus. We had kids. And then, I ended up wanting to stay home when I had my second child. And then we came out to Maryland, and then my husband had a horrible event happen 4 years ago. And so what's been really interesting is visiting, because it was 15 years on February 11th that it happened. Mm-hmm. And what's been so interesting for me is revisiting what happened 15 years ago, and also what happened to us. On leap year, it will be 4 years that my husband's scandal happened. And, you know, I I have since become a life coach. And I think becoming a life coach, and I'm now helping women in their midlife, and I'm helping people. Actually, I've just gotten a gentleman client. What's so wonderful about this is it's taken me all the way back to those 6 months that I had after the incident.
Mm.
Learning not to sweat the small stuff anymore, learning to be appreciative. Every morning that I open my eyes, the first thing I say is thank you. I say thank you every morning when I open my eyes because I have another day. And I have found my purpose in life is to help people live an abundant second half. And again, it's that life is so precious, and to slow down and have the gratitude for what you have. And
Mm.
then also to realize we don't know how much time we have on this earth.
Mm-hmm.
So the time that we do have, let's make it worthwhile. And whatever that is, if you're in a situation that you shouldn't be in and you don't know how to get out of it, let me help you do that. Let me help you get out of that. If just, it doesn't have to be huge steps, but it can be baby steps, because I've realized that I can conquer things, that I can overcome things, and I can help other people to do that as well. And life is precious. It's precious. You don't know how much of time we have or don't have. So what you do have, let's use it to be goodness for others and to serve others and to live an abundant second half. That's sort of where I am now. And I feel grateful every day. There's little things, there's big things, and and of course, I stumble sometimes where I'm like, oh, I'm so frustrated, or I don't like what's going on here, but I always end up coming back to gratitude.
Mm.
Always coming back to gratitude, because we really don't know how much time we have on this world. And I feel like I'm going to use my gifts as much as I can to help other people through getting unstuck or doing things better, um, and loving the family that I have that I never thought I was going to have. I mean, I look at my kids and I see these two souls, and I think of how I was in the hospital room, and I looked at my mom and dad and I said, I'm so sorry, I'm never going to give you grandchildren. I'm so sorry, that's not going to happen. And then here they are,
Yeah.
what a blessing. So yeah.
So tell me too, because I know that plays into all of this. What is the new mid?
The new mid is redefining midlife. So we are healthier, we are vibrant, we are still climbing. I can remember when my mom had her girlfriend Jody turned 40, and they had this whole funeral for her. They were like, Jody's 40, and they had all these over the hill and all of that stuff that they thought was really funny. Well, I had my first kid at 40, I mean, it's very different now. And so some of us in our midlife right now, we have young kids. Like I have an 8-year-old and an 11-year-old, but I have girlfriends who are on Facebook showing me their grandbabies,
Mm.
which is awesome. But we have more, because a lot of us have waited to have kids and now our parents are getting older. We have a lot of responsibilities. We are being pulled by having to do stuff for our kids, still raising them. And then we're also pulled by our aging parents and helping them out as well with doctor's appointments and just bills and all of these different things. And then we have Jennifer Lopez, who is like rocking it, looking amazing, and Jennifer Aniston on this cover of a magazine. But there's a lot of different, we're not our moms,
Right.
our mom's generation anymore. So I'm helping all of us find a way, to live healthier and to be healthier and to really manage your mindset. So that's kind of like the new mid, you know, it's all about um, good mental health, good mental mindset, because a lot of people, when they get to their midlife, they might be disappointed or frustrated because they haven't succeeded what they thought they were going to succeed. And now they're realizing, wait, there really is a mortality. I am mortal. You know, there is a time limit that's going up, but you still are healthy enough to do things, and you still are healthy enough to make a change and try something new. And so that's kind of what the new mid is it's just friendly advice for the new midlife, and helping people have an abundant second half.
And it seems to me that it's so easy for us as women to get lost in the in between. So, for example, when you're, especially when you have kids, I would assume, because I don't have them, but it's easy to get into the role of I'm so and so's mom.
Yeah.
And when, especially as you get older, and then, like you said, you start caring for aging parents, you still have children, who you are kind of gets lost in the shuffle.
That's we constantly are putting ourselves second, you know, constantly putting everything and everyone else, you know. And there's so much going on with our bodies. I didn't mention that either, you know. I have friends that are sitting in boardrooms um, trying to not have a hot flash, you know, because, you know, their face is getting, they're sweating, you know, their armpits, and it's embarrassing, you know, while you are surrounded by these 30-year-old men or women, you know, and you're still crushing it, but you have a lot going on physically with yourself. So you're having to sort of navigate that as well. And yes, you know, a lot of times it's more important to make sure that your kids are fed the right foods, and they have all the sports equipment that they need, and their schedules are kind of crazy. Or, you know, all of a sudden your kids are away at college, and, you know, you look at your significant other and you're like, who are you? You know, or I've placed all my value on my kids and how they're doing, and now they're gone. Who am I? You know, there's so much going on with us. And then I have girlfriends who, they've been single their whole lives, and they don't have kids, they don't have spouses, and that's the life that they've chosen. But then they're kind of looking at it like I was saying before, okay, I know I am going to get older. Who am I going to have help me when I get older? Because I don't have a child that's going to take care of that. You know, so we have a lot going on.
Sure
And
do.
what's wonderful is we're talking about it and we're helping each other out. Because when I was younger and when I was going through the whole corporate world, the women in front of me, now this isn't everybody, but just for me, they were like, hey, I didn't have it easy, so you're not going to have it easy. But I feel that things are shifting. We're like, you know what? We have Facebook groups now. Like I have this wonderful, the New Mid private Facebook group that's women only. I know you're in that. And we support each other. We help each other out. You know, I mean, we give each other atta girls, like you're doing great, you know, and then we give each other laughs, because I think laughing is so important and not taking things too seriously. So, you know, it's a tricky time, but it's a great time. It's a great time.
I think it's great what you're doing. So let me ask you one final question. And if you had to go back and talk to the woman that began this journey, knowing what you know now, what would you tell her?
Have faith. Have faith. It's all going to work out. And even when the hardest things are happening to you, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be just fine. And you know, life is never meant to, there's no finish line. I mean, you know, I guess ultimately the finish line is when we do meet our maker. But until then, you know, I was always trying to achieve, trying to achieve, trying to achieve. It's like, just enjoy where you're at, what you're doing now. And, you know, it's just beautiful, and gratitude, and sisterhood. And, you know, don't worry so much. Enjoy more.
Well, thank you so very much for being here, Michelle. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much.
My job as a photographer is to see things in a different way, to create reactions, to frame what is seen so we can better understand. Here we take a look beyond the lens of what we may think we see or know about people, events, and situations. To subscribe, please join my mailing list, visit my YouTube channel, or look for Beyond the Lens on Spotify, Stitcher, and Apple. I'm honored by the people I work with. If you'd like to talk about shaping the way you are seen in photographs, please schedule a call. I'd love to hear from you.